Thanks everyone for joining today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. The reason I'm starting off with this picture is I'm truly excited, mainly for two reasons. The first, it's 2021, and I'm hoping and wishing that this is a much better year for all of us across the globe from a variety of perspectives. And the second, the opportunity to talk to you guys and really share some of my humble learnings from my experience. I'm very excited to be talking to some people who are looking to learn something new today. Um, I also do want to thank UXDX for putting this forum together. I think it's truly an interesting forum to network with like-minded people and learn something new for myself today as well. A little bit about me. So I'm a product guy. I like using logic a lot. I'm learning how to keep things more and more simple. Ironically, though, that's really difficult. On the personal front, I do enjoy reading and playing a bit of squash, although COVID did put a bit of a roadblock to that, but I'm getting back to it slow and steady. And one of the advantages of being at home is that I'm building new skills. So my 4-year-old is keeping me up to date on the latest in Play-Doh and Lego, which is happening for me as well. For the ones that are curious on how this is spanned, I've put this together as a spoiler and taking a risk here so that people don't jump across. I roughly think if I've timed myself right, I would spend around 20, 22 minutes here discussing the topic with you guys. We are right now just setting this up at the beginning. I do have a few learnings that I've tried to condense into 3 broad points that I want to talk to you about by taking you through a very interesting story that we did on the ground. And jump and conclude everything towards the end with a quick summary. I would urge you not to jump there already because it'll be a good experience for you guys to listen in on all the learnings because they're fairly well connected, and it'll make more sense. Yeah. So let's get right into it. This is the topic that I wanted to discuss with you guys. Why failing fast is not good enough. A provocative statement and purposefully so. Don't get me wrong at all. I am a big fan of failures. Some of the projects and the teams that I've worked with before, I think we've celebrated failure, learned so much from having failing fast and applying those learning backs to actually taking more impactful products to users. However, when we reflect and we really analyze those in a little bit of depth, there is almost another dimension and a different layer, which I feel needs to be managed and understood about failures. What I want to take you through is how we uncovered some of those. When we really went back and started to reflect as a group, as a team, on how the last few quarters, last year has gone by, what have we released as successes and failures, it really hit us. And I tried to condense these into 3 points that really we took away from all those analysis that we did. The first was that while projects were going on, successes were happening, failures were happening, the broad sense of are we getting smarter just not seem to be there. And that was reflected in the fact that we were not talking about learnings as much as we would have liked to. The second, when we really try to do this high level analysis of having different kinds of failures in terms of size, nature, team, and really lay them out over a timeline, the frequency of the failures, what it was now and what was a few quarters back, broadly was remaining the same. So we were not really improving on that front either. And the third one, to our surprise, we actually had no objective view on what this was costing us. How many were we pumping in into these failures, and what was the net ROI that we were being able to generate? Were we really contributing back to business and consumer value towards the end? Armed with these three insights, what we actually decided to do is, take sort of a different path this time around. Pick up a team, pick up a project, and try something differently with the perspective of optimizing our failures from what we've learned from this reflection and retrospective. And what I'm going to do next is take you through the story of how we implemented some of these learnings on the ground, what we did, what worked, and really condense them into 3 points that you can take away as practical applications for yourself. So before I get into the story itself, let me set this up well. This is the organization I work for, OLX Autos. Essentially, what we're trying to create is a differentiated used car and buying and selling experience for users. Very simply put, a person who wants to sell his car comes to us, sells the car, we refurbish, shine it up, and then sell it back to the buyer. Simplified view, it's a C to B to C model. What our platform also allows is for people who are interested in generally selling cars to end consumers themselves. We also facilitate that, not just in helping buyers and sellers connect, but also providing a lot of services on the ground to make sure that the transaction can be much more seamless and a better consumer experience. Yeah, so this is the setting. This is a key component that happens currently in a used car process inspection. I'm sure most of us are quite familiar with what happens in a car inspection. It's a fairly it's a fairly technical product that we're trying to sell and buy right now, um, and also something that is used to really understand what the objective condition of this and arrive at an accurate price. This process is super important to this journey. Although a lot of advances has happened in this area over the years, but it's still quite manual. You still need a guy who's fairly an expert, can go through this checklist of sorts, look at both digital and physical data, and really make a judgment call. But what's happening? Things are changing as well. What's really happening across the board, and a lot of companies and people are trying this out. We're really trying to change this process in itself. We're almost trying to say, hey, can we solve this better through technology? Not just making it a better consumer experience, but also making it much more sustainable and scalable. So picture you as a consumer almost doing this entire process by walking around your car just with your phone. Can we make that happen? So that was the hypothesis or the problem that we were trying to solve in the um, in the area that we took up to apply these new learnings that we had come across with respect to failures. And let's dig into what we learned. So the first one really um, was that by nature, we as product technology design folks, we're in a rush to build. We want to take new solutions to consumers very fast. What happens a lot of the time because of that is we don't end up spending enough time in really defining what we are solving for first. Let me quote Theodore Levitt here. So he's a professor from Harvard. He quotes in the context of people wanting to buy quarter-inch drills. People are not actually looking for quarter-inch drills. They're looking for quarter-inch holes. So it's really the core need that we're going after. I'd argue, let's extend that further. It's actually not the quarter-inch hole. They're actually looking for the painting on the wall. Take it a step further. They're actually looking for the aesthetics it brings along to the room, or the feeling when I get when I wake up to that painting. So if we continue to do this exercise of keep going, we're trying to figure out the real core user need that we're trying to solve for and really deliver an impactful solution. How that's helping. And let me bring back our example of building this state of the art inspection process. What we did before we jumped into building something was really try to ascertain where should we focus when we're building this solution. Should we focus on the seller, in which case we probably will be solving for convenience and bringing a transparent price along to this user? Or should we focus on the buyer, in which case we're trying to solve for trust? Hey, is this car, am I getting a good deal or not? Will this car not break down 6 months after? And after enough deliberation and thought process, you were able to arrive, hey, the core need that we're actually trying to solve in the end is really for the buyer. While our initial bent was, hey, this is probably a seller oriented solution. And how that helped us. What that really helped us was to design the experiment and what we were going after, right? So this is an inspection report. And what we're essentially trying to do here is now gather these data points through this new experience that we've built. There are two ways to approach it. We can either collect all the data points that the seller can give very conveniently, or we actually focus on the data points that the buyer needs to build trust, almost have the confidence to put down an advanced amount online. And armed with the information that it is a buyer focused experience, we were able to build the right experiment that we wanted to solve for buyer trust, which could actually lead to some seller inconvenience at the end. Basically, what we did was we avoided a bad experiment design at the end by focusing on the problem a lot, which helped us not go down the path of a false negative or a false positive, essentially non-usable learnings that came out of a particular failure. That was learning one. Learning two is really to understand the cost that comes along with the failure and how these costs shoot up as we get more and more invested into a particular solution. Let me again bring back our example. So the solution that we're building, the initial thought or the initial, I would say idea was, hey, this probably will be a video oriented solution because, we'll get people to just walk around with their phones around the car, both interior and exterior, and give us a view through a video. Then we can just get this video, slice and dice it, and we'll get all the answers that we need and the decision making that we wanted to do. And there were a lot of reasons that were contributing to this kind of a thought process. We had a lot of platforms that had come up with video oriented solutions in the consumer space, in the markets that we were operating. And a lot of acceleration was happening there in adoptions, where people were getting very comfortable with videos in general across the board. Network and data speeds were also improving. So it was becoming easier to support videos in the mobile network. To add to that, we had also built somewhat of a solution in another category on our platform. So our platform also allows users to sell anything used, through our product. And this is an example of an electric appliance, a mixer grinder. And we had built a solution where if a seller wants to really showcase the working condition of this particular product, he can make a quick video, which the buyer can use for decision making. And the thought there was, hey, why don't we just repurpose this for the car category, and we'll be up and running with the solution. And we were very tempted to go down this path and get invested in this idea very soon. But going back to our reflection and saying, hey, should we first figure out if there is enough evidence for us to move along this path and really reduce our chances of failure? We did two things. The first one was, hey, can we be really free and try this out today without even building anything? So we have our stores, we have inspection engineers, and we have consumers, and we have video capabilities. They just might not be on our product, but people are fairly comfortable using a WhatsApp video calling or their native camera phones. Can we just utilize that? So what we did, we started to do some on the ground pilots. So we got people who were not interested in bringing their car down to a store, get on video calls with our inspection engineers, almost like a guided experience where they were running our inspection engineer through the process. And if people were not ready to do that, we gave them a little guidance and say, can you make a video and just send it to us? Which would give us a bit of learnings. Can we actually utilize these information points? The second, we were not the only ones in the market who are trying to solve this right now. There are a lot of SaaS-based organizations, insurance companies, OEMs, and other competitors that are trying to build something similar. And there's a lot happening in the market. So we actually went out and spoke to a lot of people, and we came across a bunch of solutions from AR to VR, hardware, software, video. So piecing these two together and very critically examining what will work for our consumers, what benefit we will get, what happens in the markets that we operate, we actually came out with a completely different conclusion. We came out with the conclusion that video is not the path to go. Let me try and explain why. First of all, it's not a superb consumer experience. Like picture yourself trying to make a 2-3 minute video around your car. It's so awkward. You don't know whether you should be talking while you're making the video or you shouldn't be. If you're trying to open the car and if you're trying to show us the engine, the camera is going all haywire. It's not a good experience. Secondly, the moment you switch your camera from a photo to a video, the quality dips significantly. The quality that you get of the video is actually much lower than what we would expect. And third, the size of the video that actually gets created, which is multiple hundreds of MBs at the end, it's just not practically feasible to get that uploaded and shared in an optimized manner. So video was clearly not the path for us to go. In fact, what we realized was a very simple image and a smart image capture experience, which is guided on how these images should come along with the smart form, where it's more or less a tap experience for the user to give us a bunch of information around the car, works beautifully for us to get all that information that we were trying to derive for this video. So you see what we did there. And if I look at this cycle of product development, rather than failing at the case of a launch where we would have invested a lot in this idea, built it, launched it, and figured out, hey, it's just not working, we actually failed really frugally. We failed at a stage of the concept itself, which acquired a lot less resources, a lot more cost, a lot more speed to market. That's learning number 2. Learning number 3, and this one's very interesting. So bear with me on this. I'm sure most of us are familiar with OKRs. I think it's a fantastic tool and a strategy to figure out and give teams really actionable goals that they can own. While I do feel there are some challenges when they get implemented on the ground. What really happens, practically speaking, in at least the digital environment that I work in, you think of a quarter-on-quarter OKR cycle. In a quarter, what will happen is all of the work around discovery, which means, hey, what are we supposed to build, gets front-loaded into the quarter. So everybody's scrambling to figure out what gets built, and all of the launches or the deliveries happening towards the back end of the quarter. What we're trying to do there is, it's not the most optimal use of resources. The kind of resources we need when we're doing discovery work or the delivery work are very different. And if all our initiatives and projects are at the same stage of discovery or delivery, we are actually pressurizing these resources a lot. What that does is it brings down the quality significantly, and we are increasing our chances of failure. So we looked at this and we say, hey, how can we systematically and by on purpose change this? So just to give you an idea, this is a very oversimplified flow. And what you would see in a quarter is the problem, opportunity, or hypothesis will probably be in the front of the quarter, and the launch and the analysis will probably always be happening. And picture bunch of these things happening for all the initiatives that are there on the OKR. So what we are saying is resources like design, research, prototype testing, product are all pressurized and constrained on doing problem or opportunity analysis for all the initiatives in the front of the quarter, which does not provide as much quality as you would expect. Again, bringing up the chances of failure. So we systematically try to change, again, the same example. So let's assume we had these 5 or 6 initiatives that we wanted to pick. So we wanted to integrate back with an OEM to actually get car service history. We wanted to change a bunch of things on the UI. We also wanted to do some data science things where we can extract text from the image and then play around with the form that we had in terms of configurations and ordering so that we can get the best possible information. And what we did was, rather than having everything happen at the same time, we mixed it up at a particular time frame. We said that, hey, all these projects need to be systematically be driven at a particular journey of the life cycle at a different point in time. Some will be more in discovery, some will be more in delivery. What that effectively did was it eased the pressure on the resources that really can work on this with quality, lessening our chances of failure going forward. And if I extend this a little bit further, picture that you have a lot of these initiatives that you need to work on a particular time frame. How you would organize or plan for this is almost think of having different kinds of things happening along the product life cycle at a particular point in time. And what that does is it lessens the pressure on the kind of resources that really work on this with best quality. One more thing, and we could use this in multiple, I would say, capacities. So let's picture there's a product manager or a design manager that has to do this for his one project, but multiple tasks. We can actually zoom into a particular task and say, can I plan my tasks in a stage where all of them are at different stages at a particular point in time? And if we zoom out a particular level where we are saying almost a manager that needs to plan it for multiple teams, can I get teams to be working at different stages as well? This also does two things, and particularly in the view of stakeholder management expectations, is that one, it allows a lot of room for us to spend time on the larger initiatives. So in this particular example, look at initiative 4, where we need to give a lot of time for us to do the discovery work here. What's that really done is, while all of the other initiatives are constantly delivering something, we've got this cushion to actually work on this in a little more depth. This also does a lot of visibility, not just on the progress, but also the process that product follows to stakeholders and manages expectations a lot better. So that's learning number 3. So those are the 3 learnings I had. I do want to bring all of this together in a quick summary. The first one, do spend significant time in defining what's your quarter-inch whole. What we're essentially trying to do there is avoid bad experiment design and go down the path of false positives or false negatives. The second one is think of the cost that you incur of failing at a later stage and trying to validate at each stage to save on that cost later on in the journey of product development. And the last is to ease the pressure on the teams that need to work at a particular time frame in the life cycle. Try and spread across the work systematically across all your initiatives at a particular point in time. You've been a great audience. Thank you so much for listening and spending the time today. I do want to leave you all with this one quote and quality that I value a lot for myself, and that shaped what I am and what I do today. Continue to stay curious, guys. Keep learning and keep an open mind. Take care. Cheers.